All right. So this is our section number 2. In section number 1, we try to cover all the softwares that are needed to do your Power BI development. So the first software was the Power BI desktop. So either you download it from the Microsoft Store or you download it from the website. The second was the DAX Studio. So you'll be using that to see the performance of the model. So in terms of the DAX queries and then in terms of your size of the model. Then you have your tabular editor. So tabular editor will be used for modifying your measures, adding new column, adding relationship in a more simple way. And then the last one was the ALM toolkit. So we were able to install all those softwares, and I have now the Power BI desktop open here. So I have shown the report view. So we have this canvas here, and then we have the filter pane, we have the visualization pane, and then we have the fields pane here. So filter pane, visualization pane, and then the fields pane. And then we have the data view, and then we have the model view here. So the model view will show you the relationships and all. The data view will help you to get a better understanding of the data. You can quickly filter the data and then see what numbers you're able to see with the capability of adding new columns here. And then finally, on the visual side, you will be able to view the data. And the softwares, what we installed in our last section, everything should appear under your external tools tab. So you don't have to worry about separately opening the Tabulator, DAX Studio, or ALM Toolkit application. So it should be able to connect directly using Power BI. So I'm right now in this external tools tab. So if I click on DAX Studio here, so this should have the connection to your Power BI model that is open. So you could see here, I'm able to see all the objects or all the tables that I see here in the field pane. So that way, so let's say if I want to see any of the tables here, so let's try to see what orders we have. So I just type the evaluate function followed by this order table, and then I can press here the run, and you could see here we have the output. So this is like a very basic usage, but later we'll be trying to understand how we can use the DAX Studio. But it's very important for you guys to have like remember this keywords, and then remember what these tools are purpose for when you're doing the development. So the key thing is to understand all this navigation, all these terms here, and then you are in a better shape to understand or to explain those terms. All right, we can close the DAX Studio here. Any questions if you guys have before we move on to today's topics? All right, so let's start with the relationship view here. So let me delete the layouts what we created last time. So we are deleting the layout. So this are list of all the tables we have in this Northwind dataset. So let me, okay, so let me create a new layout, and then let me get the invoices table here. Right clicking here on the new layout that is being created and then naming it to the invoices. And here I can click on this table. I'll get the list of options and I'll say add related tables here. Okay, so I'll organize this better, and let me remove this table from here. So which will be removed from the diagram. And let me keep this, and let me remove this table also from the diagram. Okay, so we have a very basic view here. So we have the customer table, we have products table, and then we have the invoices. So here, the way we have a relationship between the customer table and then the invoices table is we have this relationship. If I double click on this relationship, it will show me what columns have been used from the invoices table and customer table to create this relationship. So you could see from invoices, I have the customer ID. I'm using that customer ID and then creating a relationship with the customer stable customer ID. So customer ID will be the primary key in the in this customer table. And in terms of the cardinality and in terms of the cross filtering, so it's important for you to understand this one. So we have one-to-many relationship between the customer ID and then the invoices table. So let me quickly close this one and then slightly rename this tables. So when you work on when you work import any tables in Power BI, and when you start building the model, you basically work uh, as a dimension model. So where you will have list of all the dimensions and list of all the facts. So here for the first table, what we see here, customer. So this is a dimension table. So we can add a prefix here as a dim.customer. So which will give us like a very good understanding of what all dimensions we have in our model, and then what all fact data we have in our model. So dimensions will be a kind of like a attributes which we can use to slice and dice the data or aggregate the data based on it. And then same thing for products as well. So I can name this one as a dim products. And then invoices are fact data. So fact data in the sense we have all the numerical data here. So I can say fact underscore invoices. So here, what basically happen within a dimension model is whenever you select a field or in your dimensions, so you will be aggregating the data from your fact tables or you'll be slicing and dicing. So now if I come back onto the report view here and then use just the basic table visual, and let's start with the customer. So we have renamed it from customers to dim customers, so we are able to see that table here. And let's first pick the contact name. So we have the contact name here. So we are able to see that it's giving the list of all the contact names. And then what we are saying is this dimension customer table has a relationship with fact invoices. So I can again come back here and then I can go to the fact invoices. And here within the fact invoices, so we have the unit price and we have the quantity. So let's say let's drag and drop the quantity from here. Oh, it created the hierarchy. So let me delete the hierarchy. Okay, so we can drag and drop the quantity from here, and then you could see based on the contact name, which is coming from the dim customer, it's able to aggregate all the quantities here. So if I aggregate this, so you could see the first customer here have the quantity of 4,958. And then if I come here in dim customer, and if I drag and drop the customer ID, so we only have one ID associated with this contact name, but let's see how many records we have in the invoices table. So let me copy this. So I can click on this ID here, right click and then copy value. And then I can come here. So first, let me start with the dim customer. Why this dim customer is, this is the first table we have in our relationship, which is the dimension. And then from here, it has a relationship with the fact invoices. So when I click on this customer ID and then paste the ID here, so you could see I have only one ID associated with one customer here. Now let's see how about the fact invoices. So let's go to the fact invoices and let's search for the customer ID. So this is the customer ID field, and let me paste the ID here, and then let me click OK. So you could see how many different transaction I have for that specific customer. So this is what the relationship is denoting here. So if I again click on this, so you could see the cardinality as one to many. So the what it is explaining us is in dim customer, you will have only one value, but for that one specific value, you would have multiple transaction in your fact data. That's what the cardinality represent. So there could be one-to-one relationship within your tables or one-to-many relationships. So what it will represent is like for this one ID, you would have many transaction. And then for the cross filtering direction, so first let me cover the cardinality, and then after that I'll explain about the cross filtering direction. Okay, so let me cancel this and then again come back here. So we are able to see this data. And next is the products. And then again, if I click here, I have the product ID, which has a relationship between the fact invoices and product ID. And then it's giving me the same information here, which is saying that many to one. So we can again go to the report view, move this table visual aside, and then pick the table visual here from this visualization pane. And this time, instead of dim customers, we want to have it from products. So let me go here. Okay, so we did not rename this. So this will again be dimension. So it will be the dim products. Yep. So we come here, we have the dim product. We take the product name, and then we want to see how many units were ordered based on this particular product name. So you could see, oh, that's the unit price. We have the quantity here. And when I drag and drop a numeric field, and when I see the options, by default, it will summarize the data for us. So if you want to say, don't summarize and give me all the records, then it will do that. Or it can give you the average value, minimum value, maximum value, the count, the standard deviation, variance on median. So it all depends on what requirement you're working on. Based on that, you can pick it. Okay, so again, let me sort this one. So you could see this particular product name has the highest quantity here. And again, I can go back to the dim product, and then I can get the product ID here. And you could see here, when I drag and drop the product ID, by default, it's doing the count. But for our example here, we want to have the values. So then we can say, instead of count, give me don't summarize. Okay, so this is the product ID, which had the highest quantity. So let me copy this, and let me go to the dim products, and let me paste the value here. Okay, again, the same thing what we have seen in the dim customers, that it only have one record for one ID. And if I again go to the fact invoices, so within the fact invoices, I think we were filtering for the customer ID. So let me clear all the filters here, and I can now search if it has the mm, postal code, order ID, product ID. Yeah, here it is. So I can paste here and then search for that product ID. So you could see here. So we have the same thing for one product ID, which is sitting in the dim product. So we have multiple transactions. And again, we can come back here. We could see we have one-to-many cardinality here. And then same thing is represented here as well. So you could see we have one side of the relationship, which is represented here, and then many side of the relationship. So any questions on cardinality and relationship? Okay, so next thing is how the filters propagate from one table to the other. So we have this dimensions, right? Dim customers and dim product. So we have used the customer name and product name, but apart from that, we have other attributes as well. So if I start with the dim customer here, so you could see we have the title, address, city, region. So let's start with the country filter here. So if you have to add a slicer on the report page, then you can click on the slicer pane, and then you can select what specific field you want to use it. So if I come to the dim customer here, and within this, so I'm selecting a country. So by default, this is how the filter will show up when you use a field. So what you could do is you can click on this drop down here, and then you can select the way you want to have the list. So instead of a list, I'm saying I want to show as a drop down, and I can rearrange this properly. So here, I'll show you now how this list get filtered. So this table, we are saying that we have used the we have used the customer table along with the invoices table. The second one, we are saying we have used the product table along with the invoices table. But if I say just show me sales for Canada, so the filters will propagate here. So it will not only filter the customer invoices table based uh, uh, table visual, but also it will filter the product name here. It's because the way it's behaving behind the scenes is, so if I first come here, so what it will do is it will take the filter from here, and then it will carry the filter completely to the fact invoices, and the fact invoices will only show the product IDs that has that filtered customer ID. So this is important to understand how the filter is working. So what it is doing is it is hiding the data for the other calculations or other relationships. Okay, and then same thing happens. So if I again go to the products, and then from here I'm saying I want to, so okay, so let me take just the product name here. So product name, and let me convert this to a filter, and then again do the same thing, go for the drop down, and let me arrange this beside this country figure. So here I can filter this country slicer, and then I can come here and then say show me all the Alice mutton product name quantities. So I could see here, and then based on this, it is also giving me the contact names who have purchased that one. So this is only list of customer contact names who have purchased this particular product name. Okay, so this is how the filtering is working here. Right. So we were able to cover how we have the cardinality between the dimensions and then the fact tables, and how the filters propagate from one table to the other. And then if we look for a relationship, then we have the cardinality field here, and then we have the cross filtering. So let's keep cross filtering for the next class because it will make things slightly complex. But if I again come back here and then clear the filters, so let's jump on to how we do a calculation. So let's say I want to calculate some of the quantities. So if I pick this table visual here, and then if I see, so let me duplicate this page first. I'm duplicating this page, and then I'm saying rename, and this is DAX Sum X. Okay, so let me remove this visual here, and then to keep it very simple, I'm using this table visual here, and then I'm removing the customer ID. Yeah. So when we have to add a calculation here, we use the DAX functions. And when we have dragged and dropped the quantity field, Power BI was able to provide us the capability whether to do a sum, average, min, max, and all. But we'll be able to do the same calculation using DAX. So the way I can do it is I can click on the fact invoices table, and I have this table tool here at the top. Within this, I can go for new measure, or I can go for a quick measure. So let's start with the new measure here. And when I click on that, it will ask me for the measure name I want to create. So I'll say I'm creating quantity measure, which will be equal to, we want to do a sum, right? So we'll have a straightforward function in Power BI, which will be sum. And now we have to provide reference to Power BI, which of the column you want to aggregate. So we are saying pick the column from fact invoices and then pick the quantity column. So this is how you have to apply the syntax. So what we did here is we were able to do the sum of quantity directly, but we want to create the measures so that we want to do the next level of analysis here. So here we have the quantity. Give the measure name, which is the quantity measure, and then after that we use the sum function, followed by the reference of the tables, and then the column name. So I can click here, and then this will create the first basic measure for us. And then you could see here, so this is how we'll be able to see a symbol of a measure. And then for a date column, so this is how you'll see it. So there's a difference. Power BI will show whether it is like a text-based column or a numeric-based column or a calendar-based column. So these are the different symbols it will show us. So if I drag and drop the quantity measure, so you could see it's doing the same thing. It's summing those numbers here. But the good thing with using the DAX calculation is you can make your calculations more of like a robust or more of a sophisticated. So I can go for the next new measure, and this time I can say I want to only see the quantity sold for one specific region. Then what I could do is I can say quantity for Canada. So this is the measure name we have given, and then let me use this calculate function. I'll explain you later how we have to use this calculate function. But for now, again, we are going back to the sum function, and then we have to provide the reference to your fact table, and then we have to say quantity. And here after that, we want to filter it. So again, when we have to filter, so we can use the contact. So it will be the dim person, dim customer, and from here we can use the region. It's equal to Canada. Okay. So let me quickly confirm if we are using the, okay, that's the country field. So in place of the region, we have to change it to the country. Okay. So now what we did is we extended our quantity calculation. So we are saying we want to see the customers, but we only want to see the quantities where it came from the Canada as a country. Okay. And we can drag and drop, and then we can add to this table visual here. So you could see it will only show me the rows where the sale came from the country Canada here. And I can quickly update here as well. So let's say now you're changing it to the USA. You can do that quickly. And then you could see here. Yep. So overall, this is how you can work on the DAX calculations. So following the last week video, you guys will be able to see how you can download the data, and then you can start adding the calculations here. So next section, I'll keep my complete focus on how you can add the calculations and all. So for now, I'll stop the recording, and then we can go to the